Did you see Fidel Obama today at his press conference, Mr. Producer? Oh, yes, Fidel Obama. I have a mandate, and I'm not going to agree to this, and I'm not going to agree to that. Did you see the press? What do they do? Hire the guys that used to work for Pravda? Oh, yes, yes. Congratulations on your victory, by the way, Mr. President. Oh, thank you. Half the questions were preposterous. The answers were long. Most of them didn't answer the question, particularly when it came to Benghazi. He was asked a specific question. What order did he give? By the Fox News reporter Ed Henry, and he didn't answer it. And he went on and on and on with his class warfare, the top 2%, the top 2%. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to bear with me. This show's a little different. I want to give you a little history. When I tell you Barack Obama has Marxist roots, you got to listen to me, and you've got to ignore all the other people who poo-poo this. He's a student of Saul Alinsky. Saul Alinsky of Chicago. Saul Alinsky, a communist. Listen to this, would you? This is from, what is it? I forget. We're going to link to this this site on the website. What was it again, Mr. Producer? Discover the Networks. Now, what happens is I prep for 24 hours. Well, 21 hours to do the show. And then near the end, I really zone in. I really start focusing in. So I did a little research, and I found this. Well, we already knew this, literally 10 minutes before the show. But anyway, it puts a nice big bow around the package. And before I play you some of the clips, and I'm not going to overwhelm you with these Obama clips because I can't stand it either. It's like nails on the wall. I want you to understand who he is. And I want you to understand he won an election using Saul Alinsky's tactics. And he's in full imperial mode. Alinsky viewed as supremely important the role of the organizer, or master manipulator, as he called him, whose guidance was responsible for sending the agenda of the people. And Alinsky laid out a set of basic principles to guide the actions and decisions of radical organizers. The organizer, in this case, the President of the United States. He met with the leftists, he met with the union bosses, because first and foremost, he's an Alinskyite organizer. The organizer, quote, must, listen to this, first rub raw the resentments of the people. Fan the latent hostilities to the point of overt expression. He must search out controversy and issues rather than avoid them. For unless there's controversy, people are not concerned enough to act, quote unquote. That's why Boehner's playing right into this guy's hands. Obama doesn't want a deal. Obama wants to make a demand and impose his will and keep the controversy going until he gets what he wants. That's why Boehner's perplexed. He's never dealt with anybody like this because Boehner hasn't studied Saul Alinsky like I have, and he hasn't studied Marx like I have, and he thinks this is all irrelevant. It's completely relevant. The organizer's function, or in this case, the president's function, added Alinsky, was to agitate to the point of conflict and to maneuver and bait the establishment so it will publicly attack him as a dangerous enemy. The word enemy, said Alinsky, is sufficient to put the organizer on the side of the people. That is, to convince members of the community that he's so eager to advocate on their behalf that he has willingly opened himself up to condemnation and action. Obama, man of the people. But it's not enough for the organizer to be in solidarity with the people. He must also, said Alinsky, cultivate unity against a clearly identifiable enemy. He must specifically name this foe and, quote, single out, unquote, precisely who is to blame for the particular evil. You know, the top 2%. That is the source of the people's angst. In other words, there must be a face associated with the people's discontent. That face, Alinsky taught, quote, must be a personification, not something general and abstract. Alinsky summarized it this way. Pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. There's no point to tactics unless one has a target upon which to center the attacks. He held that the organizer's task was to cultivate in people's hearts a negative, visceral, emotional response to the face of the enemy. And that's what he's created. A negative, visceral, emotional response to, quote unquote, the rich, the top 2%. Yep. And he succeeded. The organizer, wrote Alinsky, who forgets the significance of personal identification, will attempt to answer all objections on the basis of logic and merit. With few exceptions, this is a futile procedure. Don't use facts. Don't use logic. Don't use substance. Don't use merit. It's about emotion. It's about fear and anger. It's about identifying evil. I'm giving you the text, or the context, I should say, for some of these clips we're going to play. Alinsky also advised organizers to focus their attention on a small number of selected strategic targets, the 1%, the 2%. He advised the radical activists to avoid the temptation to concede that his opponent was not 100% evil. They're 100% evil, your opponent. There's nothing good about them. Like Mitt Romney. Nothing good, right? They don't possess admirable qualities such as being a good church-going man, generous to charity, a good husband. Such qualifying remarks, Alinsky said, dilute the impact of the attack and amount to sheer political idiocy. Now it all comes together for you, doesn't it? I'm just telling you what's happening to you and how it's happening to you. Obama has rules for radicals and other writings by Alinsky at his bedside. Figuratively. Maybe actually, I don't know. Alinsky stressed the need for organizers to convince their followers that the schism between the enemy and the members of, well, the good guys, meaning their people, was vast and unbridgeable. Quote, before man can act, said Alinsky, an issue must be polarized. Men will act when they are convinced their cause is 100% on the side of the angels and that the opposition are 100% on the side of the devil. Alinsky advised this course of action even though he well understood that the organizer, quote, knows that when the time comes for negotiations, it's really only a 10% difference. You got that? Even if there's a small difference, you make it a big difference. In Alinsky's brand of social welfare, the ends, in this case, the transfer of power, justify virtually whatever means are required. In this case, lying. Winning was all that mattered in Alinsky's strategic calculus. He said the morality of a means depends on whether the means is being employed at a time of imminent defeat or imminent victory. The man of action thinks only of his actual resources and the possibilities of various choices of action. Alinsky said he asks only whether they are achievable and worth the cost of means, only whether they will work. The ends justifies the means. Get it? Because Alinsky was a student of Marx, and Obama was a student of Alinsky. Stay with me, please. Stick with me. Now, here's Karl Marx in the Communist Manifesto, in part. The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles. But unlike past struggles, with their graduated class systems, the modern bourgeois society that has sprouted from the ruins of feudal society has established new classes, new conditions of oppression, new forms of struggle in the place of old ones. All this class struggle in the country that has no classes, the United States of America. This is just going to anger you even more as I expose who this man Obama really is. They wrote in the Communist Manifesto, the history of all past society has consisted in the development of class antagonisms that assume different forms at different epochs. The two-class economic construct I wrote in Ameritopia, with one class of people perpetually victimizing another class of people is crude and defective. The history of man and the nature of individuals are more complex than the simplistic materialistic construct of communism and its radical egalitarianism. Stay with me. Yet Marx and Engels invented them and assigned them more value than the individual, ensuring communists' inhumanity. There's infinite diversity among the individuals in the so-called two classes, the bourgeois and proletariat classes, not only economic, but religious, social, geographical, political, etc. There are also differences in character traits among individuals, psychological, emotional, intellectual, moral, etc. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, we have allowed Barack Obama to impose the Marxist, Engels, Alinsky construct on top of our society. And we reelected him as president. And now, as you will see in the press conference, he goes on and on about the rich have to pay, about the top 2%. And he dresses himself up as a defender of the middle class because Alinsky also said, in order to destroy the middle class, you have to pretend you're part of the middle class. And all the suckers out there who bought it hook, line, and sinker. Mr. Boehner, pay attention. Obama doesn't want to deal with you. He wants to destroy you. Unless, of course, you give him most of what he wants, then he'll take it, and in the next round he'll destroy you. You need to educate yourself, Mr. Boehner. You need to inform yourself. That goes for all the Republicans on Capitol Hill, all the morons on TV and radio who get up there and go on and superficial talk about this, that, and the other. I am telling you, we are dealing with a radical ideologue. That's what this entire press conference was today. A radical ideologue going on and on about the middle class, going on and on about the top 1% and 2%. You cannot tell me another president has ever talked this way. On and on and on. And he is beating it into our heads. He's repeating it over and over again. That's called propaganda. And he's called a very, very dangerous demagogue.